Hi, my name is Ivan and welcome to TNS. In this video, we're gonna take off where we left off the last time. If you watched the first video, we did the static mix. In the second video, we processed the master bus and all the other buses in this project. And in this video, instead of going through all the tracks, applying all sorts of EQs, compressions, I'm just gonna focus on creating space and punch. Now, what do I mean by that? Well, for the sense of space, I'm gonna use three type of plugins. Actually, three type of spaces. So the first one is a slapback type of space, which is at 0.2 seconds. The second one is a plate style reverb that has 1.2 seconds of decay. And the third one is a Hall type of reverb with a bigger decay that's around 3.2 seconds. Now, I'm feeding all of those across the project. As you can see, the main vocal track, or the lead vocal track, has actually all of them. The slapback, the plate, the hall, and the delay that I forgot to mention, which is set to a dual echo type of delay, and it's been slightly fed to some other tracks too. Now, let's listen to the lead vocal with all the effects that I applied with reverbs and delays.
You make it hard, I wanna stop and stare behind those eyes, what else you got in there? 'Cause you make
I'm gonna disable all the effects now so you can see how much of a difference there is actually.
You make it hard, I wanna stop and stare.
So that's a completely dry vocal. Now with the slapback,
You make it hard, I wanna stop and stare.
with the plate,
You make it hard, I wanna stop and stare.
with the whole reverb,
You make it hard, I wanna stop and stare.
and finally a slight delay.
You make it hard, I wanna stop and stare.
As you can hear, there's not too much of delay. It's just filling up the space as it should. Now we're gonna take a listen how do the vocals sound in the context of the song.
You make it hard, I wanna stop and stare behind those eyes, what else you got in there? 'Cause you make me feel like I should learn to stop time.
One thing worth mentioning is that all of my space effects or spatial effects here have filtering on them as a last effect in the chain. So the slapback, the plate, and the hall and the delay all have a reverb that's cutting off a lot of the lows and a very high end. It slightly varies from cent to cent. As you can hear on the plate, I have it set around 440 Hz. At the hall, I have it set around 600 because I don't want to muddy up the mix with a lot of low end being fed to those reverb sends. The reverbs and the plates and the halls are not sent only to the vocal track. There's some on the snare, there's some on the hi-hat, there's some on the toms, and there is actually just a little bit of hall, reverb, and a delay on the guitars, and just a tiny bit on the keyboards. I will play the song again with and without all the reverbs here.
You make it hard, I wanna stop and stare behind those eyes, what else you got in there? 'Cause you make me feel like I should learn to stop time.
So we actually gain a lot by creating this sense of space. The vocals are more spacious, the snare has more presence in the overall sound picture, and the guitars now have a slight delay, and together with this guitar room sound, they create a really nice layer of music in the back. Now, the last thing I want to mention for this Mixthru series is the thing that I call the punch bus. Now, this is the punch bus that's actually providing a lot of energy to certain parts of the song. With these two filters, I'm filtering a lot of the low, I'm filtering a lot of the highs, I'm adding more shimmer with this Slate Digital Survival, I'm adding more top around 5K, and I'm adding a bit more punch around the 150 Hz range, where I want to pull out a bit of the top snare resonances. Also, this is a very compressed bass. I'm gonna feed it to a couple of things here. I fed it to the kicks, as you can see here, the kicks. I fed it to the snare and the toms. I fed it to one pair of overhead mics. I fed it to the bass amp and to the vocals that are happening in the chorus. But the important thing to mention here is that this isn't active at all times. As you can see, I have automated the send that's happening on the punch bass, so in the intro and in the verse, it doesn't feed any volume to the song. But when the first chorus kicks in, I'm blending that punch bass with the rest of the song. Let's play the chorus with and without the punch bass.
Cause the girls would I want stand outside in the rain. Cause the girls would I want I'll take the physical pain. Cause the girls would I want at the end of the day. The girls would I want.
Now I'm gonna disable this bass, so we're gonna hear it as it was before.
Cause the girls would I want stand outside in the rain. Cause the girls would I want I'll take the physical pain.
Now listen to the changes that happen when I turn off or on this punch bass here.
Cause the girls would I want stand outside in the rain. Cause the girls would I want I'll take the physical pain. Cause the girls would I want at the end of the day. The girls would I want.
Now for me that's making a huge difference. The snare pops a lot more, the overheads are a lot more present in the chorus, and the bass that we just slightly fed to that bass punch here is bringing a lot more energy, so the whole thing kind of lifts up once we get to the chorus of the song. Now you can see that I automated that punch bass to come in and out, so it's off on the intro and the verse, it's in on the chorus, it's out on the second verse, it's back in on the second chorus, it's slightly in on the instrumental, and it's back in again for the final chorus. Automating changes like this can really help to bring out some movement in your song, so the whole thing isn't actually static the whole time. Instead of doing a lot of EQ and a lot of automation on certain tracks, so I could have gone and probably, I don't know, automated the snare with some saturation or distortion to hit harder when the chorus is hit, or I could have turned up the whole thing a dB or two. But this kind of a method helps you control a lot of things with just one bus. There's a lot of going on here. There's filtering, there's adding more top, and then heavily compressing. But in the end, I think it pays off. Finally, we could try and put a bit of limiting on this track, just to make it a bit louder, to see how this whole thing that we did reacts when it's pushed a bit.
You make it hard, I wanna stop and stare. Behind those eyes, what else you got in there? 'Cause you make me feel like I should learn to stop time. I will give you this life that I'm in if you show me the other side. 'Cause the girls would I want stand outside in the rain. 'Cause the girls would I want I'll take the physical pain. 'Cause the girls would I want at the end of the day. The girls would I want.
I think the whole song sounds good when we push a bit of gain in the limiter. We're not doing any heavy limiting, we can probably still push this a lot more, but this isn't the purpose of this video. Anyway, I hope you like this first Mixthru series here on TNS. There will probably be a lot more of this content here, and if you're just beginning your mixing journey, maybe this is a good place to start. We kinda got the whole thing up with first the rough balance or the rough mix, then we processed the buses and the master bus, and finally we did some effects processing with reverbs, with delays, and with this cool little punch bus trick. Thank you for watching and bye.